Hi, this is Sonia, and this video is a departure from my previous videos about Filofax and planning and organization and things like that. The last 2 months I've really been getting into art journaling and mixed media and painting and things like that. Clearly I'm a complete newbie. I've only been to one class about how to use like alcohol inks and stamping and things like that. So this is really just the blind leading the blind, but I thought that I would throw some tips out there. I've watched hundreds and hundreds of hours of YouTube videos, and so that's pretty much where I've been learning everything, and I thought I would throw my couple ideas out there and just see what people think of them. So I thought that while I was talking I would flip through this book I made with my homemade jelly plate, because nobody wants to watch someone talking with nothing happening. So the jelly plate is kind of like a big piece of Jello that I don't know, you can get different sizes. So my homemade one is the size of a cake pan, so it's 8.5 or 9 by 13. But you could put it in a circle. You can buy a circle. You can buy it big. You can buy 12 by 12, I think, and they're made by Jelly Arts is what it's called. I'll put a link below, but I just have a homemade one, and so when I first started seeing them, they were saying that you could do it on a Ziploc bag. So since I didn't know if I wanted to do that, I went ahead and just bought a jumbo-sized Ziploc bag and just a couple tubes of paint, just the 99-cent or whatever was the cheapest at the store, and I just got two little stencils at Michael's. And I just used copy paper with my mother-in-law, just straight out of the printer, and we just tried it out and thought it was a lot of fun. So then I thought, okay, well maybe I'll go ahead and buy it. Well, I thought it was too expensive to buy, and I think in the process of making it multiple times, I made it once for myself and I made it once for my sister. So I guess I could have bought it for the price of 2, but anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is I have a homemade one, and I'm going to show how I made it a little bit later. So then I made the homemade one, and I bought one more bigger stencil. And the cool thing about the jelly plate is that you can really layer and this is later on, you can get all kinds of layers based on all the stencils or however you use the jelly plate. I only had the one stencil, so they all kind of look the same. So the next time that I put together my jelly plate, I went and bought a couple more stencils. And just to show you that I don't have drawers and drawers of stencils like some people, I just got a couple of the stencils like that, and I just bought 2 more large ones. I think all 3 of my large ones are from Heidi Swap at Michael's. And then I bought just a couple little ones, some butterflies, small hexagons, like a stained glass window, a circle. And so with just those stencils, I was able to get some really, really nice layering. And here's some of my favorite pieces. And again, this is just really all with the craft paint. This Blick matte acrylic, I bought two bottles of pink and blue, and I really, really like it. The pink's almost gone, so I need to figure out how to get another one. And then this I guess is the really good stuff, the Golden brand fluid acrylics. I just bought a little teal one, and a little bit goes a long way. I really, really enjoyed using the Golden compared to some of the cheaper ones, but whatever, they all work. So as you'll see, my color palette is kind of the same. Pink, blue, teal, black, lots of black. I love pink and black, and then a little bit of gold. And the purples that you see here and there are really just from the pink and the blue coming together. I do have a purple, but I don't like it, so I don't use it. So if you see purple, it's just the pink and the blue coming together. So you can see, with just a couple stencils, you can really get some nice layering. And like I said, these are my favorites. But I also took some of them and I cut them all down to the same size paper. And these I all have back and front, and there's some on like paper bags, some on hymnals, some on atlas books, some on dictionaries, just all kinds of different paper, copy paper, canvas paper. I don't think there's any watercolor paper in here. Anyway, I just cut them all down to the same size, and then I took, I think, like 5 sheets and put a rubber band through the center of the little booklet. And then I did that 5 times, so I've got 5 little booklets, and I think there's a name for them, but I don't know what it is. Anyway, so I just took some that I learned from the planner world. So the Midoris have the rubber bands that kind of keep the sections together, and then this was a moleskin that I ripped all the planner pages out of to put into my Filofax and just kept the book. So this is my little book of jelly plating. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it next, but I really like the way it came out. Some other tips that I have. I bought these packages of foam in the clearance section at Michael's. I've seen them in like every Michael's clearance section I've been to. And I put them on the jelly plate to give the paint some texture, or sometimes I use them like stamps and dip them in paint and then kind of press them on my pages. So this was a really good investment, $1.99 for all of these and another set. So it came in 2 in a pack. The other tip that I have is I was playing with alcohol ink one day, and just on photo paper, and it came out really pretty, as you can tell. So I think it's really pretty. So I thought that I would try it on the jelly plate, and again, I'm using a homemade jelly plate. And so I put the photo paper down on the jelly plate, and it bonded to the glycerin, I guess, I don't know. And so when I pulled the paper up, the whole corner of my homemade jelly plate came with it. So definitely do not use photo paper on your jelly plate. I haven't seen that tip anywhere else online, but don't do it. I don't know what it would do to a real jelly plate, and I wouldn't want anyone to find out based on how much they cost. The other thing that I wanted to throw out there is there's this creative palette by Stampendous. And I was at the scrapbook store that also sells mixed media supplies, and I saw this at the cash register while I was in the midst of paying, and I thought it was a jelly plate, so I bought it. It looks similar in the packaging, but it is not a jelly plate, so just be aware of that. It comes in similar packaging, and the color, well, the front looks similar to someone that doesn't own a jelly plate, and I bought this before I made the homemade ones. But it is really thin and really firm. My jelly plate, my homemade jelly plate, is really like Jello. So when you put the stencil on it, you really can push the paper through the stencil to the paint and get these really nice designs. With this craft palette, you cannot do that because it's just so firm. The stencils that I used with it, I could not get the paper to go through the stencil to pick up the paint. And also, even just not putting stencils on it. So this is a page that I made with my homemade jelly plate. So you can see that a lot of the paint came up. This is a page that I did with the craft palette. And if you take away all these hexagons that have blue and black, you can see it really is just the pink and the black. It really didn't pick up the paint like it did on the homemade jelly plate, and I would assume similar to the regular jelly plate. So this would be good for if you're not using stencils, maybe, and you just want to get some background paint on a piece of paper. The other thing is that I don't know why, but for some reason with this, the thin paper really doesn't work. I use this dictionary paper, and as you can see, it has all kinds of colors and stencils on it because I used it multiple times on my homemade jelly plate. When I used the same dictionary paper just once on this creative palette, the paper ripped. I couldn't get the paper to come up off the jelly plate, and I had to scrape it off. So something about it hates thin paper and stencils. So if you're looking for doing that kind of work with it, I wouldn't recommend the creative palette. So there's that, and I think that's pretty much all of my tips. I'm going to make a homemade jelly plate. Well, I have the recipe already made. I'm going to put it below, and then I'm just going to remold it and show you that here in a second. I have been using a jelly plate. So first of all, I got the recipe online. It's for a homemade jelly plate, and right now I have it cut up in this Prego bottle. So just thought I'd show how I remold it. and use it again. So I'll put the link to the recipe below, but it's just gelatin and packets of gelatin, bottles of glycerin, and water. And you just mix it together and put it in the freezer for a couple hours, and it comes out and you use it for paint. And I'll show that a little bit later on in the video. But you have to have, something for it to be stored in. And the purchased ones come in a package, so you can kind of move them around, but the homemade ones are generally made in some kind of baking pan or cooking pan, so it takes up a lot of space that I don't have. So I just figured that I would cut it up into small pieces and keep it in a Prego jar in my fridge. I don't know if it has to be kept in the fridge, but at this point that's just what I'm doing. And then melt it down and re-pour it and remold it. This jelly plate, I've made the recipe twice, and once I gave to my sister and then once I kept for myself, and it works out perfectly. I'll have a couple tips later on. I made this originally 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, and I have remolded it twice. I've used it 3 times, I've remolded it twice, and then this has been sitting in the Prego jar for a week. So I'm going to, I just put it in a glass bowl that I know is going to be big enough. I'm going to put it in the microwave for 5 minutes, is what I had done before. I might do a little bit longer since it was in the refrigerator. And alright, so here we are back. I have microwaved the bowl for 5 minutes and it comes out liquid. I will say that the mix doesn't come out this pink, it's more clear or beige. But I extensively use pink paint, so even though I do clean it, it still comes out pretty pink. So then you just pour it into your pan. The bowl is hot, so try not to burn yourself here. And that's about it. The recipe does say to try to kind of pop all the bubbles that are on the surface, and I think the first time meticulously popped all the bubbles, and the second and third time I just kind of waited for them to mostly go away and then put it in the fridge, and didn't have really any problems with it. I don't know if it just kind of, they all went away, but it's not super hot, so you can just kind of pop them with your finger. If you do leave them, then they will create kind of little pockets on the jelly plate. You can use the other side so that there's no bubbles when you take it out. But if you use the side with the bubbles, because the other side gets dirty or whatever, the paint just kind of gets trapped in them a little bit, and you just have to kind of clean it out. But I don't know, it didn't really bother me that much because whatever. So that's about as much effort as I'm going to put into that. And I'm just going to put it in the fridge for probably like 4 hours. And back, and this homemade jelly plate has been in the fridge for 2 hours now. I would usually leave it in there for 3 or 4, but I'm trying to get this video finished before my daughter and husband wake up from their naps. So we'll see. I think it's gelled. I find the hardest part is getting a corner up. I did pull a corner up already just to show it, but when you press on it, it seems to be pretty done. So then it's just a matter of I usually have one corner that's pretty ripped up, but I mean, whatever. Then the rest is just kind of trying to pull it up slowly without ripping it. And if it gets ripped, then it's really up to you if you want to try to just jelly plate around the rip, because you can still use it. It's just that the rip, the paint might get in there. It won't be as smooth for your painting, but it'll be fine. Or you can just go ahead and rip up your jelly plate and start all over again. And I will say that, so I have tinfoil over here ready for it, but the first time that I made this for my sister, I was at my mom's house and she had a glass cutting board, so I just put it on the glass cutting board and it worked out perfect. When I made it here at home, I don't have any glass cutting boards and I didn't have anything big enough. And I use wax paper in between my pages if I'm like spray painting or something like that. So I have wax paper laying around, so I grabbed wax paper, I put it on the surface that I was going to work on, and then I did the jelly plate, and when I was done I just wrapped the wax paper around the jelly plate, threw it in a Ziploc bag, and came back the next day, and all the water from the jelly plate or something had absorbed into the wax paper. It didn't work right, I felt like, so I just molded it again. And then the next time I did what I'm doing now. I put it on tinfoil on a cookie sheet, and then I just wrapped it. When I was done, I wrapped the tinfoil around the jelly plate, and it sat like that for 2 days, and then when I got back to it, it worked no problem. So it's pretty forgiving, and then it just comes out like this, and I just put it on my tinfoil like that. Now let's move this. So that was a 9 by 13 baking pan. It comes out pretty thick, as you can see here. I think that you could use a bigger pan and it would just be thinner, but this size is okay for me. I might like it a little bit wider. The other suggestion that I would have is if you have a cookie sheet or something like that that's glass, it would be better for you to move it around, because if you have a book or something that you're trying to put on the jelly plate, sometimes the edges of the cookie sheet get in the way and you can't like have it hang over or anything like that. But I don't have a glass cookie sheet, so this works. And yeah, so there you go. If you put it straight on the page, so like my glass is curved, so you could go on the other side. You might have a smaller surface area because of the bevel or curve or whatever. I usually use this side, and then I don't know, if it gets too dirty or I feel like it's sticking or something, then I swap it and I just flip it over and use the other side. And I can see here that I must have put it in the fridge without checking the level, because this side is a lot thinner than that side, but seems to be pretty thick, so I think it'll be okay. So I'm just going to show you a couple techniques now. Not that I'm an expert or anything, just one of my favorite things to do. And let me get set up over there. Alright, so I am going to show you one of my favorite techniques. You can watch on YouTube all kinds of videos about ideas of what to do with the jelly plate, but this is just my favorite technique. And like I said, I love black and pink, and I like the way that the colors are the opposite of each other, but there's like a little line around where the stencil is. So it's really easy to do, and I'll just show you how I do it using my black and pink. And I wasn't able to do this fast enough during nap time, so hopefully my daughter doesn't talk too much. Alright, so I'm going to try to do this quickly before she loses patience and my husband loses patience for holding the camera because the battery ran out again. Alright, so I just put on some pink, and I'm going to do a pull on that one. And this does take quite a lot of paper, so make sure you have a pile of paper ready, but then you've got a lot of good prints to layer with. Alright, so that one was a really clean print of the pink, and then I'm just going to do it again because it looks like there's still a lot of paint left. Alright, so that's the second one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this stencil, and I'm going to hold it in my hand so that it doesn't, the paint doesn't come off on anything else. And I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Alright, so now we've got the opposite there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black and add that one out. And then I'm going to take the pink side, and off to the side, I'm going to just spray it with a little bit of water to reactivate the pink. And then put the pink paint up on top of the black. Put down paper. You're going to press real hard to get that pink paint off the stencil. And then when you pull it up, it's beautiful. So there's that. And then you can do another one with the stencil on. Get a little bit lighter there. And then do the opposite. So I'm going to hold this with the black paint up and try to get all that black paint off. So there's just the black hearts. And then I'm going to put down some pink with the last of my pink. Uh-oh, this has a little bit of black in it, but actually I don't mind that. Alright, so now I've got pink down. I'm going to spray the black. Put it down on top of the pink. And do the opposite. So now I've got a bunch of black and pink heart prints. But these two are the stars here. And get another one. A little bit lighter. And then, of course, I've run out of paper. Like I said, make sure you have a pile if you're going to do this back and forth and back and forth. And there you go. So that's my favorite technique. A bunch of tips of the jelly plating. Hope that you learned some stuff and had fun. And let me know if you have any suggestions or comments. Thanks for watching.